most admirable chasers you could possibly wish to see.
Welcome to the Racehour podcast in association with Bet365, the home of the position payout. Happy 2026, everyone. And we're back with a new show taking an antepost look at the Cheltenham Festival, which is just over 2 months away. I'm Rory Jiwani. With me are racing broadcaster Ed Quigley, Bet365 guru Pat Cooney, and racing's answer to Chuck Norris, Gary Connolly. We're going to start with a look at the champion hurdle on the Tuesday, and I think I'll hand over to Pat for the latest odds from Bet365.
Well, really, we'll just focus on the front six, really, because I'm not sure any of the others are going to run. But Sergino is 6-4, Lossiemouth 7-2, the New Line 5, Brighter Days Ahead 14. Not sure where she's going to go. Constitution Hill 16. Don't know if he's going to go. And Golden Ace at 16 and 25-1 bar. So the market is all about Sergino, really. He's unbeaten. He came back from a year off to win at Kempton on Boxing Day. He was undeniably impressive, wasn't he? I keep looking at the 6-4 thinking, I'd rather lay him right now at 6-4 than back him. But you keep coming back to the fact that he is unbeaten and he's so highly regarded by the Nicky Henderson team. I think they've long since felt that he's a better horse than Constitution Hill. My worry with him, I suppose, were if State Man in the same owner's colours had still been around, would he have gone chasing and left State Man to the champion hurdle? But just basing it on what I've seen, I'm pretty sure he's a better horse than Lossiemouth. As for the New Line, I had my reservations about him prior to the fighting fifth. Would he be quick enough for a 2-miler? But I think at Newcastle he showed that 2 miles won't be an obstacle for him. But he did take a heavy tumble. And the rest, you can't really fancy. So I keep coming back to the fact that Sergino is the likely winner. And really, he could win this quite easily because he is a pure 2-miler. And what's not to love about him? I know he's had his issues and so forth, but if he gets there on the day, I could see him being a mighty gamble. But I'd rather wait for the day and take a shorter price right now if it were me.
Yeah, I mean, I look at Sergino and he hasn't had much experience. That would be my main, obstacle to backing him. I mean, the win in the Christmas hurdle was only his 7th career run. And champion hurdlers tend to have a bit more experience and tend to be a bit more battle hardened. I mean, it's not a race for the faint-hearted, although, as you say, it could be a very small field. Going back, you mentioned Constitution Hill. He won the champion hurdle on his 7th start in 2023. Before that, the ill-fated Espoir d'Allen won the champion hurdle in his 10th race. That was in 2019. But bar those, they've tended to have a bit more experience. I mean, Ed, Sergino, 6-4 does sound very short, doesn't it?
Good start, 2's on. I think this is an absolute muddle, this race. I think Pat's done it very well. I'll believe Lossiemouth's in the race when I see her jump the first hurdle. We've been here, we've seen this film before, haven't we? Lossiemouth gets declared for the mares in a match against Wadhu. I'm not going to fall off my seat in amazement if that happens. And then you start going through them. Brighter Days Ahead. Will she run? I mean, she's never brought her best to Cheltenham regardless, so I wouldn't worry too much about it if she did. Constitution Hill, he could be running in Maidan. He could be running in a Wolverhampton maiden. He could be running on trials day. He could be retiring. We don't know. And then you're 25-1 bar, aren't we? So Sergino is the right favourite. Of the 3 we haven't mentioned, I'll go very quickly. It's the New Line. Now, Pat makes a good point. The jury is still out about his credentials as a 2-miler. We don't have any strong conclusions, do we, from Newcastle? Initially, when he fell in the fighting fifth, I thought it's just quite underwhelming. But having watched the race back a couple of times, I know if is a very dangerous road you can go down on the way to the poorhouse in horse racing. But if he'd pinged that hurdle in the fighting fifth, I actually think he lands with a fair bit of momentum there. And he was actually probably going slightly better than we give him credit for at the time. And he could have easily got the job done in that race. He's going to trials day. The thing is, that's in 2.5 weeks or whatever. There's nothing going to run there. Golden Ace is going to the Kingwell, potentially then on to the Champion Hurdle. So the New Line could easily be 1-3 to beat Brentford Hope and someone else on trials day. It's an awful banana skin for him, because remember, trials day is on the new course. bit of soft ground. If he doesn't show the requisite gears there, he's not running it, Cheltenham. And all he can do is go and win at cramped odds. So I don't think we're going to glean a lot more from the new line, if you see what I'm saying, between now and the actual day. The other two are Golden Ace, who there is a case to be made at 16-1 for her, because she is pretty much guaranteed to run. I mean, she's a 16-1 shot, and this could be a 5-runner champion hurdle. And she does have this voodoo, doesn't she? She has this magic spell. She has the Draco Malfoys about her, where she just gets onto the race course and said, "Yeah, we'll get Constitution Hill full. Oh, State Man, 6 lengths clear. Don't worry, let's magic one. Boom, down he goes. Yeah, we'll turn up to Newcastle. On the back of having had a lung infection. Well, don't worry, we'll get the new line on the deck as well as Constitution Hill that day as well. So, look." She's a guaranteed runner, in inverted commas, I suppose, which more than could be said for a lot of these in here. And the final horse we should throw in here, who could be the absolute joker in the pack, although I'm not totally bought on him, is Al Fabiolo, who, of course, thumped John Bon, Etal and Anarcha once upon a time. All kind of gone west as a chaser. But it was a fairly pleasing comeback, wasn't it, over Christmas, aesthetically, albeit in a lower level over 2 miles, 3 furlongs. But it was great to see the kind of legs back, the lungs back, everything in working order. And look, he fairly dotted up. Again, that form's got to be taken in context. He was getting £4 from a 144 rated handicapper, and he had a 3 mile chase from Spillane's Tower in third. But what it did show is he's back and he's working. And it sounds like they're going to have a crack at the DRF and the Irish Champion Hurdle. So, in terms of if I'm putting my price perspective on, if he goes close or even wins or does something good at the DRF, he is a horse who will be single figures in the aftermath. There isn't a lot outside of Sergino and the new line I could see really moving in from left to field. So the race is a total muddle. And if 2 or 3 of these, as I said, if Brighter Days Ahead doesn't turn up, Lossiemouth goes to the mares, new line fluffs his assignment trials day, we could be looking at a 4 or 5 runner race as Sergino at 4-7 or something, couldn't we? So, we're going to come on to the Gold Cup in a couple of weeks' time or whatever. That is a race where it's very wide open for the fact you've got lots of really informed horses separated by 3 or 4 pounds of what they've achieved this season. This is the other way. You've got the horses Sergino, who is light on racing, as you rightfully point out, Rory. But he's the one who's the here and now horse, and the rest of them have all got the kind of answer something. And we don't know if out of that top 10, if you look at the market, it's not inconceivable 6 don't turn up, is it? So, absolute muddle.
Yeah, you've talked me into an each way bet on Golden Ace.
Well,
I think
she will run. That is the one thing. I mean, unless she stands on the stone, she will run. She's 16-1, and as said, and you've also got the added value of the magic wand she carries instead of the whip in Lorcan Williams' hand. So, it's a very tricky race to try and sum up. It really is.
I mean, Gary, there's also, Lossiemouth, obviously there's the option, same colours as Annie Power going back all these years and same connections. Is there an argument that she's better over 2.5 miles than 2?
Yeah, most definitely. I don't see her as a 2 miler at all. So I'd make her odds against even show up here. She deserves to take a chance in the race and what she's shown this season, and she's second favourite on merit, but I just think they're going to take the easier option. That's what I'd do. If I owned her, I wouldn't be going here. I'd be going for the mares win that. Half have my eye on the Quevega record. There's nothing that can touch her in that division, but yeah, she's a 2.5 miler. She's not a 2 miler. She'd get found out here for speed, I think.
And what do you reckon to the race? Sergino, play or a lay?
He's just different gravy to this lot, Sergino, isn't he? He done so much wrong at Kempton and still won in his first run for a year. His jumping wasn't great, but he was very nimble when he needed to be. He's just a pure athlete, this horse. And I don't think there's a 2 miler around that can lay a glove on him. He's just too good. So I'd have him. I think 6-4. It's short, but as the lad said, I think he can go off a lot short. This race is going to corrupt badly. He's going to go off odds on the day if he makes it in one piece. One that I would probably have a few bob each way on is Amsterdam. I know he's a bit of a head case, but I was surprised to see the drift on him on the back of his Leopardstown effort. Having Paddy Mullins and his hands of lead didn't help him there. He just ran out of his hands and stuff like that. But if there's a proper jockey on him, I thought he would have went close to winning that. He just has a massive engine. somehow they can keep a lid on him. Like, he's a monster if he can just channel his energy in the right direction. Like, and he's 33-1. In a race that is going to cut up. I think he is going to end up in here. I think Joe Donnelly could have a 1-2. So Gino winning Amsterdam 33-1 each way, and the reverse, not even a straight forecast, and yeah, easy game,
We'll see if that comes to fruition. Yeah, as you say, I mean, it really could be a small field for the champion hurdle. We're going to move on to the other championship hurdle race at the festival. It's the Stayers Hurdle over 3 miles on the Thursday. We'll go over to Pat again for the odds with Bet365.
Yeah, current favourite is Tihupu, 13-8. Then it's Honesty Policy at 5. Bob Ollinger at 7. Impostoir 7. 16 Ballyburn, if he still floats your boat after his last disappointing run. And 25-1 par. And Tihupu's another interesting favourite. I always thought word association, Tihupu, soft ground. But I watched him win last time out, and it was pretty much goodish ground by Irish standards. And he beat Bob Ollinger by 7 lengths. And if anything, I thought that might just been a career best for him. He was really, really impressive. He'd beaten Ballyburn by a nose a month earlier, but it was a real dominant performance. And I've suddenly switched from thinking, oh, you can't back Tihupu anti-post, he must have soft ground, to looking at that last run on Good to Yielding, I think it was officially called. He won by 7 lengths. That's as good a run as he's ever put together in his career. So I think he's a worthy favourite. Now, you've got an interesting horse for second in now, Honesty Policy, who has been popular in the market in recent weeks. Now, he came over to Ascot to run against Impostoir. I thought he was ridden negatively, to be honest, that day. It was very much a, let's see how he gets on. Impostoir won handily, but I came away thinking I would fancy Impostoir to be the form to be reversed on the day with Honesty Policy. I look at Impostoir. He has been a revelation, hasn't he, stepping up to 3 miles? But he's had to have 3 good rides, I think, to win each time, and it's going to be harder and harder. And you got Bob Ollinger at 7-1. He was comfortably dealt with by Tihupu. I know he won this event last year, but he's a year older and a year slower, so Tihupu's definitely got the measure of him. And like that, bit like with Sagino, from a bookmaking background, you're trying to get these ones beat, but you keep looking at it thinking, I'm not so sure. Maybe Honesty Policy could take yet another step forward, and he's the unknown horse of the race. But Tihupu, I now know he's better than Bob Ollinger, and I don't have any ground worries for him. Outside of that, I was trying to come up with something. I did look at Home by the Lee at 66-1, who always seems to rock up in this event and carry my each way money, but I think he's failed 4 times to do it, so why is he going to do it 5th? And I do think Tihupu, he's another one. I think the public will really latch onto him on the day. And if it is soft ground, so much the better. But I have no going fears with him now.
Yeah, interesting to hear that there's been some money for Honesty Policy. And I'm another member of the Home by the Lee club. Each way bet in the Stayers Hurdle comes nowhere. Gary, as Pat says, really hard to pick holes in Tihupu's overall body of work. I mean, can you see him beaten this time?
Yeah, like he was beat last year, and it's a stronger race this year. So, like he's the right favourite, but he's plenty short enough. I wouldn't be rushing out to back him. Like it's a division that's suddenly come to life, I suppose. This year, there's a few younger horses on the upgrade, and if he couldn't win last year, don't see why he's going to win this year. To be honest, Honesty Policy is the obvious one. I'd be with Pat. I think he's definitely going to reverse that form at the long walk. I just thought he blew up coming down to the last, and then he stayed on again. He'll definitely reverse that form. He's a young and proven horse. He's going to be banged there. 5-1 looks okay-ish at the moment. I wouldn't be writing off Bob Ollinger as well. I was at Leopardstown. I saw him in the ring. He looked like he'd come on plenty for that reappearance. He's 10-1 in some places. Just seems to come alive at Prestbury Park, unbeaten there. Like he slapped T-Boy out of the way last year, and this ran all over him. Older horses, it's probably a division that the older horses do okay in. So the age wouldn't be a massive negative for me. Like, I'm purely on the prices, like 10-1 looks massive for the reigning champion. So at the moment, he'll be carrying my cash.
Yeah, I'm getting a lot of positivity about honesty policy. I mean, he was third in that long walk. I mean, he had Impostoire and Strong Leader ahead of him, and he's only had 6 runs. Um, I mean, he just doesn't. Don't know. The profile just doesn't look like a Stayers Hurdle winner to me. That's what I'm thinking. Ed, what do you reckon?
I think he could easily win the Stayers Hurdle, honesty policy. Yes, you're right. He's a bit wet behind the ears, isn't he, in terms of what he's got so far? But the flip side is there's a lot of the same old faces knocking around here. He's a horse on a steep upward curve, and others a belting run at Ascot. He was conceding race fitness. Let's not forget to Impostoire and to Strong Leader. He, as Gary says, seemed to cut out into the home straight, but then did run on again and was gaining Impostoire at the line. I think that's a lovely run. Interesting, Gordon Elliott saying the horse is more than likely to head straight to the festival. A lot of trainers, or in the olden days, that would have been viewed as a big negative, wouldn't it? But Gordon Elliott's made a habit of getting horses to kind of come from the previous calendar year straight to the festival and run absolute belters. I think, wasn't it, Galvin went from October to the festival once upon a time and won. Tahupu, of course, had traditionally gone from the back end of the year without a run going into the festival. So I think going there fresh would be great. The one thing he doesn't have is any real Cheltenham form, does he? That's a big unknown. He's generally done a lot of his running on flatter tracks, but he's really exciting. And I'm balanced him against Tahupu. We found 10-year-old Bob Ollinger too much last year. Bob Ollinger's going to be 11. It's going to be a big ask if you look at the stats. Tahupu did win it 2 years ago. 3 years ago, he got beaten by 18-year-old, was it Dashel Drasher and Cider Burley. So for all that, Tahupu is a very good horse. He has been beaten 2 of the last 3 renewals of the Stayers Hurdle, where we've had the same chat going into it. He's the best horse. He's 6-4 favourite. He should win. And for whatever reason, it's not quite clicked. Or he's found a way, or got a bit unlucky on the day, or just bumped into a horse who's produced a career best. So, honesty policy, very exciting. You could argue he's getting short enough now, but he's definitely the one I'd be with at the prices. If there was a joker in the pack, I wouldn't totally give up on the Yellow Clay, fairly enough, who would be the third leg of the Gordon Elliott runners. Now, obviously, he ran an absolute stinker when he stepped up to 3 miles for the first time in the Tahupu race at Christmas, but he was beaten 1.5 miles from home. He was beaten before Trip came into it or anything like that. Clearly, something was amiss. I think he's gone for a full MOT. But his form last year in separating the new line of Final Demand over 2.5 at the festival doesn't look too shabby, does it? And I think he's been crying out for 3 miles. I think there was something wrong, and I'm sure something will come to light. I think he's around the 33-1 mark. I'm not going to be totally surprised if he rocks up on the day, and he obviously does have some half-decent Cheltenham Festival form to his name. But yeah, I'm out to get Tahupu for all that he's now proven his versatility on better ground. But I just like the younger legs, the unexposed type. I'm pretty keen on honesty policy, and I'm actually quite happy for all that. It'll get me in trouble on social media. He's a horse not running again until March. I love it because he can be bubble wrapped. There's nothing that can go wrong, and they can get alternate ideas in their heads of other races to run in. So yeah, honesty policy for me, I'm very keen on.
We haven't really talked about 2 of the other contenders. One is Impostoire, who was second in the Coral Cup last year. So, does show a liking for Cheltenham. He's won 3 in a row. Just maybe, Gary, do you just not think he's quite up to winning this?
Yeah, I just think, as Pat said, he's benefited from 3 really good rides, his last 3 wins. He'd be honesty policy, but that form will get reversed. He is a tricky enough character as well. I think he needs to get a great ride every time, especially in this type of grade. So I wouldn't fancy him too much here.
Yeah, and the other one is Ballyburn, and Pat mentioned obviously he didn't run well over Christmas. Ed, not for you.
No, he didn't run well. The jury's still out whether he sees 3 miles. And I see Willie Mullins' comments. Obviously, Paul Townend would have given good feedback afterwards, and he's still not. He still thinks he can get 3 miles. He thinks the horse just wasn't right. There was something not right that day. And again, just stand back objectively and watch it back. He was in trouble a long way out again. It's not like he came there full of running into the final half mile, travelling all over to Hooper and then fell in a hole and you went, right, he clearly doesn't stay. Paul Townend's having to niggle down the back straight. I think it was the final flight of hurdles out the back straight. He made an absolute mess of, and a lot of Willie Mullin's horses actually ran quite below par over Christmas. You actually look at his strike rate. His December strike rate was pretty average, and one of the few of them just not clicking. So, look, he's a class operator, but the reason why he is whatever he is, 14, 16 to 1, is because does he stay? Disappointing run, etc., etc. You're starting to have to make a long list of excuses to forgive him, aren't you? I don't know where they're going to go with him. I imagine they will have one more crack at 3 miles and find out conclusively once and for all with him. There's no doubt he's got a lot of raw ability. Of course, he was sent off for a very short prize, wasn't he? He was odds on. I think he was sent off to win the Brown Advisory last year, didn't he, when he fell? So, also a lot of ability, but yeah, naturally with question marks. But no, I agree with Gary. I think honesty policy can reverse the form of Impostoir. Postoir had already had 2 runs under his belt at Ascot, so I thought that was a mammoth run from Honesty Policy, first time out for the season, and first time out over 3 miles as well. So, yeah, interesting race this. But whereas, yeah, the Champion Hurdle, I think we're all kind of thinking Sergino is the one to, he's got to get there, and if he's in one piece, he's going to be very hard to beat. I think there's enough runners in here to give Teahupoo plenty to think about.
Yeah, and Pat, just to finish off our look at the Stayers Hurdle and the Champion Hurdle, you mentioned obviously money for Honesty Policy. Any other horses being backed in the Stayers Hurdle and anything being backed significantly in the Champion Hurdle?
No, not really. I think as we've all just covered, really, there's a great deal of uncertainty. But I'm with Ed, really. You've got Sergino at 6 to 4, Teahupoo's 13 to 8. Of the 2, you'd rather say Sergino at 6 to 4 because I know that's going to start shorter on the day. So it's very much all about the market leaders at the moment. And, there's horses quoted 33 that you just think, I'd be surprised if they ran. The entry stage is actually noon next Tuesday, the 13th. So we'll probably trim that current list down somewhat. There's going to be horses entered in this race. They're just not going to be there in a week's time. So that'll be interesting to see what does and doesn't come out. But as things stand at the moment, you do look at Honesty Policy. He is the one most likely to serve it up to Teahupoo. I've no doubt about that. A little bit boring. I'm putting them in price order when, as I say, from a bookmaker side of the fence, you should be picking holes in them. But they're strong contenders at the top, aren't they?
They certainly are. So that's the 2 races looked at for Cheltenham. We are going to have a quick look at the upcoming weekend's action. There may not be that much of it. Obviously, cold snap hitting Britain and Ireland. It's Lanzarote Hurdle Day at Kempton on Saturday. That's in danger, due to the weather. We've got the Warwick Classic Chase with some Grand National hopefuls. Perhaps there's a bit of bad weather that way as well. Pat's down the road in Stoke, and you're snowbound pretty much, aren't you, Pat?
Yeah, we've snowbound for the last 2 days. The snow's now gone, but it is like Siberia with the wind chill. But hopefully Warwick could be on. I think Friday they're expecting a right miserable day, but hopefully Warwick could be on. And I'm scheduled to go there, so I'll be the one in the bobble hat, gloves, and the snow boots, and the 10 layers of clothing. But an interesting runner in that classic chase is Town, who's just got that buzz about him, really, hasn't he? And I remember I'm not really the right person to ask about this horse because I've only ever backed him twice in his career, and that was at Windsor a year ago when he fell, and in the big handicap at Newbury. And I spoke to Peter Scudamore, of course, heavily involved in the yard. I did say to him a month or so before the Newbury race, he did go up £15 for winning at Cheltenham, and he went, yeah, but he beat plenty of horses that day, and he won by 11. I said, I thought maybe 15 was harsh. And he said, well, he's rated 142. I'd like to think it'd be rated more than 142 by the end of the year. So there's been money yet again for him. Of course, now he fell early on at Newbury. I think he has to go left-handed. He does jump to the left. 2 falls to his name over 6 runs over fences. But, that marker 142, you do look at it and you think, oh, I don't know. I'm with Scoo. I could see him being rated high by the end of the year. But he's a very popular horse in the market at the moment. So it'd be a fascinating runner if it's on.
Yeah, so that's my town for the Warwick Classic Chase. At Fairyhouse, there's the Dan and Joan Moore Memorial Handicap Chase. And then on Sunday at Punchestown, we've got the Grade 2 Moscow Flyer Novice Hurdle. Gary, anything you're particularly looking forward to this weekend?
Yeah, so there's one, the opening race in Fairyhouse that goes ahead now. This is my triumphal horse. If he runs proactive for Willie Mullins, snapped up by JP after he ran away with an all-time maiden. Interesting enough, now it's the same connections to Soul and Masborough, which is interesting, and I'd have this one a bit more exciting than Masborough when he arrived over. To be honest, he was really impressive the day he won. He just blew it away from him over the last, and his time was really good in comparison to some of the other maidens on that card. So 14 to 1 with 365 at the moment. If he wins well the weekend, now you'd imagine he'd be justifying going for favouritism. So I like him. And then just Warwick, if it goes ahead, the Hampton Novice Chase, I like Moon Rocket at 3 to 1. I think he'll beat Wade out. This track will just suit him a bit more. He was unlucky the last day in a match race. It was a bit messy, and he just got out sprinted, I think. So I think he wins. And then Kempton, if it goes ahead, Silviaco Conti Chase. If Caliph de Burley can't beat this dross, I'd be amazed. I'm amazed these odds against. So he should be winning that. They'd be my 3. I'm looking forward to the weekend.
Brilliant. That's way more than I was expecting, Gary. Excellent. Ed, can you add to the list of tips? Hope you got nothing opposing one of Gary's, have you?
Well, Caliph de Burley, he's my King George winner for next season. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. Yeah. So you can record this, and then when he's retired by September, you can play it back and laugh to your heart's content. But yeah, he's up to 2.5 miles, isn't he? Then they're talking Aintree. I'm interested I just love listening to what the trainers, because the way they think they see these horses from day to day, and he said he's reminding me more and more of Clanders Obo. And of course, Clanders Obo had very good form at Kempton and 3 miles, and really blossomed once he went up in trip. Anyway, that's for another day, but Gary's right. If he struggles to put away a 25-year-old Edwardstone, there's big problems here, isn't there? I haven't got a bet. Say Warwick's an hour from me, and they say the weather is looking pretty bleak for the weekend. But if it does somehow get the green light, I'm not necessarily taking on Gary here. I think Moon Rocket's got a cracking chance. It's more of a horse who's not a bet on the day in the Hampton, but it's with a view to the Cheltenham Festival. Lawrence Bay represents the Jamie Snowden team and needs one more run to qualify for the National Hunt Chase at the Cheltenham Festival, which is going to be the target. This horse is just out and out stamina, all about stamina essentially. Dotted up in a nothing race, a 2-runner race at Uttoxeter on Davy Jumpwell, but then made a couple of fiddly errors early and was always on the back foot in a pretty good race, the Grade 2 at Sandown. Look, isn't up to winning Grade 1s or Grade 2s, I don't think, but has been given an initial mark of 1:35, needs one more spin to qualify for the festival, and then we'll go up to the 3-mile, 6-furlong trip. Of course, that's a handicap and the professionals can ride, so I could easily see Lawrence Bay running in 9 weeks' time. For Jamie Snowden's team, they're 3 away from beating last season's tally, and we're only in January. The Yard are absolutely in an unbelievable season. They really are. So just one for your notebook. Lawrence Bay jumps around in 3rd. I'm happy, qualified, and then we'll be very much at the top of my shortlist for that race come March time. But I'll be watching Caliph de Burley. That horse, as Gary says, really we go back only 6 weeks ago, and speaking of traders, Paul Nichols was saying, it's possibly the best horse he's had in the yards. It's masterminded. Got absolutely hammered in the Holden Gold Cup, and who knows? But he's definitely a horse with star X factor for the future. You like to see Caliph de Burley really go and strut his stuff.
Okay. Pat, anything else bar my town? I was expecting something a bit more exotic from you, judging from your previous tips.
No, I'm just focusing on the Warwick at the moment. I say Kempton, it's Lanzarote Day, but in name only rather than temperature, I would think. So hopefully the weather relents and gives us all a chance. But, we're in jump mode, aren't we? I don't really want to be looking at Wolverhamptons and Southwells at the moment. So, I'm switched on to the hedgehoppers.
Lovely stuff. Well, that's it for this week's Racehour podcast in association with Bet365, the home of the position payout. My thanks to Ed Quigley, Gary Connolly and Pat Cooney. Thanks for your company. I'm Rory Jiwani. We'll be back next week to look forward to break down another couple of races at the Cheltenham Festival. Good luck with your bets and see you soon.
Relentless, remorseless, and pounding Cordon Star into